Romanticising, glorifying, idolising. Why do people tend to do these things when it comes to criminals? Heinous crimes, serial killers, and other awful acts are not something that is tolerated, and the law shows that. Hi, I'm Soph, and today we're going to be trying to find the answer to why true crime and the idolisation of crime occurs. I've done some fabulous research into some case studies, and we're going to use those to help us figure this out. Criminals have been idolised in the media, with the 2019 film Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile, starring Zac Efron as Ted Bundy, and the 2022 Netflix series Dahmer Monster, The Jeffrey Dahmer Story, starring Evan Peters as Jeffrey Dahmer. Both received backlash for their choice of actors, with some even stating that the use of these actors sexualized the killers. But there are still people who watch these shows. And why is that? British psychologist Emma Kenny agrees that we have a natural tendency to be voyeurs and be attracted to darker things. We're drawn to the good versus evil dynamic from a young age, with Dr. Elizabeth Ruth saying that true crime embodies a fascination with that dynamic. But can this fascination go too far? In the modern age of TikTok and other social media, the obsession has reached the point now where those notorious for their crimes are even being turned into influencers. Yeah, that's a bit weird. So let's look at Gypsy Rose Blanchard, for example, a victim of Munchausen's by proxy, which is a mental illness and a form of child abuse. The caretaker of a child, most often a mother, either makes up fake symptoms or causes real symptoms to make it look like their child is sick, which is what happened and drove Gypsy to commit her crime. She planned her own mother's murder and asked her boyfriend to carry it out. For this, she received a 10-year prison sentence for second-degree murder. She served 8 years, and her recent release on the 28th of December 2023 sparked a rush of excitement for internet users, with memes being made anticipating her release. When she was released, the media began to idolise her, giving her a platform to discuss her crime with paparazzi and live interviews. She became an influencer almost overnight. Many took issue with her immediate rise to fame and her celebrity status. TikTok users began to question Gypsy after she appeared in a podcast stating,
I don't associate myself as a murderer, because if you think about it, yes, I had a part to play in it. I asked Nick for help. He's the one that did the actual kill. So when they say I'm a murderer, I don't identify as that.
It seems like she's began to even desensitize herself from the crime. It's like with all that paparazzi and screen time, she's decided, I'm not a murderer anymore, I'm an influencer. This isn't the only crime that's been idolized online, especially with the rise of TikTok. In 2022, 4 university students from Idaho were murdered at their campus home. Again, TikTok blew up. Online sleuths have tried to piece together the bits of evidence that were in the public, which has in turn spread fears and misinformation. But what's even more concerning are the videos made of the man accused.
TikTok user Baby Bri Bri makes eerie edits of Ryan Koberger. The man accused of murdering the 4 students, Ethan, Maddie, Zaina, and Kaylee. These edits show how people idolize murderers and place them on a pedestal due to their looks. It echoes the Ted Bundy case, which saw women fawning over him.
This is known as attractiveness bias, and those who feel attracted to killers suffer from hybristophilia, a paraphilia involving sexual interest and attraction to those who commit crimes. Scary, right? This all sounds a bit too much like an episode of Black Mirror. However, there may be some answers.
I spoke with psychology lecturer Melanie Horton from the University of Derby to find out more.
If you look at like kind of Freudian arguments, very much about, this kind of we are obsessed with the dark side. There is a part of us, the whole kind of life-death thing is definitely something which it draws people to it. I think there is a sense of excitement. It's that kind of like almost voyeuristic sense of excitement, really. So it's the excitement without the risk factor. It also it enables us to distance ourselves from these things. If we watch something like the Jimmy Savile case or Jeffrey Dahmer, and we dramatise these kind of the police getting it wrong, or the fact that these people are running around, or that the BBC won't do these things, we can temporarily distance ourselves from it. We can kind of convince ourselves there that that's the way things were, not the way things are.
The fascination with true crime also comes from the fear of true crime. Did you know that a study in 2010 at the University of Illinois found that women tend to be more interested in true crime stories than men, and that they're more interested in stories that give insight into the killer's motives, and those that contain information about how victims escaped, and the ones that feature female victims. So does that mean we should all be watching true crime in the hopes of figuring out how to escape a killer's car? Not quite.
British psychologist Emma Kenny, the same one from earlier, told BBC Canada that although an interest in the true crime genre isn't a bad thing, she warns people about watching too much, as you could be at risk of desensitising yourself to the horrors. Plus, consuming too much true crime content can also have a negative impact on the way we view the world. If we're consuming too much, we could begin to believe that the crime is worse than it is, or that there's a serial killer around every corner. This echoes what Melanie Horton told me about the changes in crime in the modern world.
The number of serial killers being reported is actually lessening. It was almost like there was a trend in the 80s and 90s of serial killers, and now we're seeing more kind of acts of terrorism. There's more like kind of like mass shootings and things like that. So, there's a changing patterns in terms of those very extreme crime.
According to the FBI, serial murder is a relatively rare event, estimated to comprise less than 1% of all murders committed in any given year. According to the Radford University Serial Killer Information Centre, there's only been 196 active serial killers in the United Kingdom since Jack the Ripper. As for the interest in true crime and online buzz surrounding it, Melanie told me that the interest is always going to be there, and that some people just love these social comparisons and moral comparisons.
We're always going to be interested, I think, in the darker side of life, because it makes us feel better about ourselves ultimately. We are morally more correct than those people. We're not bad people, and that's why we're drawn to watching bad people.
So, hopefully all of this puts your mind at ease and has helped you to understand why people are so interested in true crime and the criminals behind the crimes. I've been Soph, and this was Killers Becoming Cool.